And so, Duff Fishman, I'm turning this mic over to you for leading our Finding Our Inner Guide this week.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Hi, Kairos. Kairos is an old friend of ACM Gather here for years and years ago, and so happy to see you back here again. And everyone who has joined us this evening, thank you. Um, this Sunday, I put up in the chat, maybe you can't see it, I'll put it up again later. Um, John Mundy and I are doing a thing on Sunday with Monday at 12 noon. And we usually do something in May because we have our birthdays in May. I'm May 12th, he's May 16th. So almost every year we do something together. And he said, "What do you want to do this year?" I said, "Well, I got like 44 Ken Wapnick quotes, and I love to go over them because they're all so great. They really are. They're so helpful if you're doing the Course in Miracles, because Ken had a way of seeing the Course with humor. By the way, and as a matter of fact, John Mundy's uh, slogan, or the name of the Sunday, is called "The Wit and Wisdom of Ken Wapnick." And I'm glad he put the wit in there because the wit is, you know, his mind was amazing. And I think Gloria or somebody sent me a video of him in London being interviewed, him and Gloria. That, of course, was many years ago. And they asked him about his youth and what has he studied. And he said, I came from Brooklyn and I went to a Jewish yeshiva, which most people know, and then he said, but my mother decided that she wanted her sons to study classical music. And if you know Ken Wapnick, I don't think anything in his background except the classical music really gave him a way to see the whole picture, because he always spoke about, don't get into the lyrics or the tune or the melody, see the whole song. So he was able to see content instead of form. And most of us, I'm talking about myself, going through the Course of Miracles, took me many, many, many years. I'm talking 20, 30 years before I started seeing the whole picture, because when you start out, you think you know what the Course is talking about, but you don't see the whole picture. It's only recently, I'm talking about the last 5, 6, 7 years out of 45 years, that I understand what the right mind is. So that's a long time to get to understand what the right mind is. So Ken had a way of grokking the Course easily. Of course, he was there with Helen in 73. That's 3 years before the Course was published, and he helped her with the editing. So he certainly had an opportunity to really go deep into the Course. And needless to say, his understanding of the Course is probably greater than anyone that I personally know. And as Keith Kavanaugh says, I say the same thing. Ken Wapnick was my teacher. I met him in 1980. He came to I was holding a meeting in Greenwich Village, and came and visited. And then I started going to his meetings on the west side of Manhattan. And he went right into the middle of the Course. There may be 40 people in the room who probably never even heard of the Course, but he went right into the middle. He didn't give any introductory statements or anything like that. And within about a half hour, he looked around the room, half the people were snoring, sleeping, because the ego doesn't want to hear it. Well, at least at that time, the ego didn't want to hear it. So without further ado, I had 44 quotes, and John said, why don't you send me your favorites? And I guess I sent them today. I said, John, here's 22 of my favorites out of the 44, not in any order. And I guess maybe John will take the other 22. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. But let's start off right here, right now. I'm going to put them in the chat, starting with number 1. And I like this particular one mainly because I heard this way back in the 1980s when I first met Ken Wapnick, and I always remembered it, and goes like this. If you want to do this course on the fast track and not at a snail's pace, hang out where it's uncomfortable, but that's where your lessons are. Now, the ego doesn't want to have any discomfort. It wants to hang out where your good friends are. They make you feel warm and fuzzy, and why should I go where it's uncomfortable? I don't want to go where it's uncomfortable, right, Brooklyn? Okay, so he understood that this world was a classroom to learn lessons. And you're not going to learn lessons from the people who make you feel warm and fuzzy. You're going to learn lessons from people that don't like you or say something that upsets you or you start to worry. So that's where your lessons come from. And those people, hey, there's Rico. Wow. Oh my God. I didn't see you. Welcome home, Rico. Wow. Okay, so on my card, most of you do know, my card says, be grateful for your triggers because they reveal our mistaken beliefs. So the people in this world who trigger you, where it's not too comfortable to hang out because they upset you and all that, they are your real teachers. They're offering you the lesson you came here for. As a matter of fact, if you get deeper into the course, you begin to realize that no one can do anything to you except the role that you ask them to do to you. You ask for it, you receive it exactly as you have asked. By the way, that's in Responsibility for Sight, chapter 21, section 2. Everything that seems to happen to me, I have asked for, I have received exactly as I have asked. And then it says, deceive yourself no longer, that you're helpless in face of what is done to you. Acknowledge that you are mistaken beliefs. You're mistaken, and all effects of your mistakes will disappear. So, who gives you these lessons? The people in our life that make us feel uncomfortable. Why are we uncomfortable? Well, because we're right up against a barrier, a blockage that we put there. Remember, the course says, we're not asking you, your function is not to look for love. That's not the function of this course. Your function is to look and find all the barriers between you and love's presence and remove them. So that's one of the things that Ken Wapnick really understood. He understood that this course is not about learning anything. This course is about unlearning everything. Everything that the ego taught us, which is why he tells you in lesson number 1. What's lesson number 1? Nothing I see here means anything. But lesson 2 says, well, just in case you think it means something, just remember, you are giving it all the meaning it has for you. Well, only the ego gives meaning to things in this world. So our function is to remove those meanings because they are meaningless. I mean, he tells you lesson 11 and 12, a meaningless world, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world, and a meaningless world engenders fear. If we're trying to find meaning in this world, that's exactly what the ego is asking us to do, to busy out our minds. Well, what does this mean and what does that mean? No, ask instead, what does this lesson show me? What is this lesson teaching me? That's how to do A Course in Miracles. Are there any thoughts on the very first one? None at all, really? All right, Rafi, go ahead.
It's the constant reminder that everything happens for me, not to me. And I thought you just put it beautifully.
Yeah, thank you. And that reminds me of what can you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and even to come, are gently planned for you by one whose only purpose is your good. Karen and then Brooklyn.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Dov. I really love what you said about the unlearning. The unlearning. I really love that because we're unlearning everything that we thought we knew because we don't know what anything is for, you know? We just don't know. Everything I thought I knew, I was wrong about. So it's like question every value that I hold, and I like staying in the question, and I really appreciate that. That I really love. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Brooklyn, go ahead.
Namaste, mighty companions. It's always so good to be here. Triggers make us stronger. It's like triggers are weights. And my biggest trigger for a while has been my own self-judgment. And fortunately, I'm building the weights, and it's getting better. And I figure if I don't judge myself, I won't judge anybody else.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because that's number 2. We're trying to do 22 tonight. That's number 2, and number 2 is already in the chat. So I put up the first 4 or 5. And this is a very helpful quote, one of the most helpful quotes that I know from Ken Wapnick. The way to get to the right mind is to look at your wrong mind without judgment. And I want you to know it works. It absolutely works. Now, what he's really saying is, in your wrong mind, that's the mind over here that you think is your mind. It's not your mind. Your right mind is not in your body. The body is in your right mind. Your right mind is not in the body. The body cannot contain your mind. Okay. So when something is bothering you, and you mentioned to Brooklyn, I look at it, it's a judgment. I don't like it. Why did he say that? Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know if he means it. Those are all judgments. So Ken is asking us to look at our wrong mind. Look at the thoughts that are going through your mind that's upsetting you. Look at them without judgment. Now, that means you're looking at the thoughts. You're not putting a label on it like good, bad, I shouldn't have done it. I should do better next time. That's the ego talking to us. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I know you know that, Brooklyn. Shoulda, coulda, woulda is the ego making all kinds of judgments. Oh, I should have done this. I could have done that. No, look at it without judgment. And all of a sudden, you're going to be transported to the peace of your right mind. That's all this course is about. How to move. It's a journey without distance. There's no distance because your right mind is right here. But we're looking at the things in our head, which you and I both call stinking thinking. And we think it means something. It doesn't mean anything. Is that helpful, Brooklyn? Okay, good. Len, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So this is really really beautiful and really cool to see these different quotes from Ken and think about them. To look at the wrong mind without judgment is to actually look at the character that I think I am. That is just a character that is not has nothing to do with me in reality. It's just a being in the story, a character in the story. So if I look at the character in any story, television or read a book or whatever, I can look at the character and think, that's really a flawed character, but it's not me. I'm not flawed. I'm not that character. It's a person in a story, and it's not even their fault that they're the bad character in the movie or the bad character in the story, because the writer wrote it that way. Because you wouldn't have any drama if you didn't have interesting characters. And if your characters were not flawed, then it would be a pretty I mean, your movie would not sell out. I'm telling you what, if all the characters in the story were holy sons of God, treating each other as if we were holy sons of God. That's the reality of it. It's, it has nothing to do with me. So, I can look at the character in the story and see all the things that they've done, but recognizing that they were just following the script just like I was, and we're just doing what our role is in this fantasy. It's really easy to look at all of that without judgment because the only thing you can judge is, are they doing their job or not?
Oh,
And if they're bugging you, they're doing their job.
thank you for that, Lynn. There's another one here that basically talks about the same thing. Remember, I'm the dreamer of the dream. I put them there. That guy that I don't like, who's a bad guy, I put him there. It's my dream. I'm the dream of the dream. I'm not the victim or the effect. As the course says, this is a course in cause, not effect. If I see someone out there that's a bad guy, I'm at effect. No, I'm cause. I'm the dreamer of remember the hero of the dream. Lynn took a paragraph out of the hero of the dream, and Jesus is doing nothing but laughing. Literally nothing but laughing. Rafi, go ahead.
Yeah, a shortcut way for me to deal with the thoughts, and mostly when they come up, I go, "Oh, it's a thought; it's meaningless," and I don't pay much attention to it. The other thing is I use inquiry. To who sees this thought? Well, I do. Okay, what am I? And as soon as I say, "What am I?" boom, mine goes quiet right away. So that's a great shortcut, and I've been using it a lot lately, and it's been highly effective.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm looking for the one I was talking about, and I can't find it. But why don't we just continue with what I put up there because that's on the chat. This one is probably where Dove gets. Oh, I see. Brooklyn has a hand up, and Karen. But go ahead, Brooklyn. Karen, go ahead.
It's like choosing to look with the Holy Spirit, asking the Holy Spirit to look, and we get a different view, of course, and the non judgment. Because look at with non-judgment is to look with the Holy Spirit. And I'm building my muscles to do that.
Okay. Remember, Brooklyn, you don't have to build your muscles. All you have to do is look without judgment. Truly. The ego judges everything. Building your muscles is having the gentleness for yourself to say, there's no reason for me to judge this anymore. Because in truth, there's nothing here. There's nothing. That's why lesson one is the whole course. Nothing I see means anything. If you're building your muscles, you may think you're going to war. No, the ego loves a war.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I meant that,
Yeah, I understand. But
but I understand.
remember, look without judgment. That'll get you right out of it. It's only our judgments that get us into a mess. Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, Brooklyn, I'm with you 100%. That's looking with the Holy Spirit. That's forgiveness. What the Ken is talking about is forgiveness. The most effective way to get to the right mind is to observe our decision for the wrong mind. For me, with the gentleness of the Holy Spirit, that is forgiveness. And when I can do that, that is my practice. That is my practice to look at my thoughts without judgment with the Holy Spirit. Because I couldn't do it for years. For years, I was very, very hard on myself. And the ego would never look without judgment. So I would look with the ego, I would look with judgment. And I learned to put down the hammer and pick up the feather. And yes, exactly what Brooklyn said is my experience. That is the Holy Spirit, and that is forgiveness. So I just love that. And I think it's so helpful. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not looking at the room. Is there anyone with their hand up now? I'm not sure.
Rafi has his hand up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, one other little thing that has been very effective for me over the years is that every time my mind comes up with something that's terrible is going to happen, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is awful, I just say, can I let go of wanting that to happen? Yes, it's gone. And I just, I'm often amazed at how effective it is. But can I just let go of wanting that to happen? Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, the mind goes quiet because there's no judgment of it.
Yeah, the word letting go is one of the most powerful words, even though Jesus doesn't use it a lot in the Course. But letting go is really what forgiveness is. Forgiveness looks and sees that nothing is there. I'm doing this to myself. It's coming from me. It's not coming from outside. If it's coming from outside, I'm always at effect. No, I am cause. This is, of course, in cause, not effect. I'm the dreamer of the dream. I'm the hero of the dream. Letting go is perfect for forgiveness. There's a book by Dr. Brent Haskell called Journey Beyond Words, which most people know. I call it the best bang for the buck in the Course of Miracles community. And Yeshua, who plays the voice of God, basically, or the voice of Jesus, Yeshua, says, do you know what the secret of salvation is? I'm saying to myself, because this is a companion to the workbook of the Course of Miracles, and the workbook tells you the secret of salvation is I'm doing this to myself. I am doing this to myself. But he doesn't say that. He says the secret of salvation, and some of you have heard me say this many times, relax your mind, release your thoughts, and let go. That's the same as forgiveness. The mind that thinks it has to figure something out. Did I do that? Did he do that? How did this start? I should have said this. He shouldn't have said that. That's the ego talking to me, and I'm listening. Relax your mind, release your thoughts, and let go. Any thought on that? We'll go on to number 3. And this is where Dove gets his you gotta laugh. Ken says, if you take anything in this world seriously, ego is doing its magic. That's why we don't relax, because we take it seriously. And when Ken talks about Jesus, he says things like, Jesus does not want you to take this course seriously. That's what Ken says about Jesus. He says, don't make a ritual out of this course, because only the ego takes everything seriously. He wants you to start looking at things and starting to smile. It's in your gentle laughter the mind gets healed. But if you take anything in this world seriously, the ego is running your mind. The ego will always take things in this world seriously. Does anybody know why? The ego made the world. It gave meaning to everything. Everything has meaning to the world. Jesus gives you lesson number 1. Nothing I see here means anything. My birthday lesson is coming up 133 says, I will not value what's valueless. What's valuable belongs to me. And then he gives you 2 criteria to show what has no value that we value. Anything that begins in time and ends in time is valueless to the eternal Son of God. He said, what value does something that has temporary value have to you who is eternal? So the ego only values things of this world because it made it. It values things of form. That's why this is a course in content and not form. Are there any thoughts on that?
Not only does it give it value, then it judges it as good and bad at the same time. And you want to see crazy? That's crazy. Why would you? And if you got half of any common sense, why would you want to listen to something that's that crazy? So, I mean, it comes a point where actual common sense filters in, and you look at it from even if you're not looking at it from a spiritual point of view, you're looking at it. Why would I listen to a maniac? If somebody came to my front door and rang the bell, and I opened the door and they started talking to me like that, would I listen to them? It's the same thing with the mind. I mean, the mind is the one that tells you pick up a gun and go into a liquor store and hold it up, or that everybody out there is the enemy and you have to be paranoid, but you need stuff from them at the same. I mean, what? Yeah, that kind of insanity is so far away from the truth of our eternal self that it's amazing, and it's all made up. It's all fantasy. There's no reality to any.
Absolutely true. It's all made up, period. That's it. Let me go on to the next one. If I can find it. It's in the chat. What makes you sick is identifying with your body. So we think that what makes us sick is something that going. I see your hand is up, Cindy. Let me just complete it. What makes you sick is whenever you identify yourself as a body. What makes you well is identifying with your right mind. Your right mind is not over here. Your right mind is here where Jesus and the Holy Spirit are. And Ken always likes to make fun of the fact that people always say, hey, Jesus, come and help me. He says, well, wait a minute. Jesus is telling you, come to where I am. He doesn't say, I'm going to go to where you are and help you with something that doesn't make any sense at all. And Jesus is telling you there is no world. Why am I going to help you in a place where it doesn't even exist? Come to me. Come to where I am. Coming to where Jesus is coming back to your right mind. So I'll say this one again. What makes you sick is when you identify with anything to do with your body, which has to do with form, things of this world, things that begin in time and end in time. What makes you well is identifying with your right mind, and this has nothing to do with the state of the body. So I was hearing Lynn at the beginning of the session saying that somebody, I don't know who, has all kinds of physical illnesses, but that doesn't mean the person is sick. The mind can get sick. The body doesn't get sick. Yeah, the body can die. Your right mind, your eternal mind is changeless, never dies. It was never born, never died. Are there any thoughts on that? No, there's no thoughts on that, really?
Yeah. Well,
Cindy, I think you
oh,
had,
yeah, Cindy had her hand up. Yeah.
Cindy, go ahead.
I don't see Cindy.
She might have got kicked out.
Mm.
So
Uh,
maybe she'll be back. So I have something to say about this. Because I mean, first off, if you just read this and just go on, it's like, okay, oh yeah, okay, I understand that. Well, no, you don't, because we're still sitting here thinking that we're bodies and that we're subject to the world. So, this is not, this is not, it is a simple thing, and we can all attest to the truth of it, but that doesn't mean that we know the reality of what this means. Because if you know the reality of what this means, then you're not a body, and that is what is healed. The mind is healed when it knows it's not the body, and the mind is sick when it thinks it is the body. I mean, it's a very simple thing, but you know, what does it do for me right now? How does that help me right now to know this? And I I guess it has to depend on your situation, because yeah, we were talking about, it's my daughter, and she has a lot of health issues. I have a lot of health issues too. Look at me. I'm always sick. What the heck are we talking about, right? So, so, obviously I'm identifying with the body. And there's nothing wrong with that. Go back to that other one, which is you're not guilty no matter what you think. Or, stop judging your own thoughts. So, yeah, if I think I'm a body, then I'm subject to sickness, pain, suffering, death, all that kind of stuff. I'm subject to those things. Um, if I don't think I'm a body, does that mean I'm going to live forever in a body? No, because I'm not in a body. It's an enigma. And anyway, I see Karen has her hand up too. So
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. I agree with you. And I do go right back to it with what Ken shares about, looking at these ego thoughts with the Holy Spirit when I am believing that it's my body that is the cause of my upset, when I believe it's my body that's making me uh, frustrated or angry or whatever, that's when I go to the Holy Spirit and ask to see this differently. That's when I go to the right mind. But the truth will correct all errors in my mind, not my body. So it does not matter from my experience with what I've been going through. And I'm sure Rico can relate to this, man. Surgery is no joke. Surgery is no joke. And I'm only a month into this and I'm still going through some serious side effects. And so the only way that I can get out of this is to look at it with the Holy Spirit and know that I can still be in peace. I can be at peace regardless of what my body's going through, because the body is really nothing unless I make it something. So that's where I go to the right mind and I can be at peace regardless. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Karen. All right, I put up 3 new ones. And the first one is, I just put in the chat, our habitual response should be, what can I learn from this? So instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Which is exactly what the ego always says. Why is this happening to poor me? Now, our habitual response, in other words, start training yourself to say, what can I learn from this? And that's exactly what we do in counseling, is we say, is something triggering you? What is it? And the triggers are revealing your mistaken beliefs. So it's a thought that I have that has to be let go of. There's the let go. What happens over time is that our reaction time becomes shorter and shorter in terms of how long it takes us to correct our perception about what we believed was upsetting us. So what Ken is saying, the faster you can recover from that thought, why is this happening to me? And get back to a neutral mind, a mind that's peaceful and not wondering about the past, and you're right here in the present. That's how you know what your progress is. That's kind of self-explanatory. I'll go to the next one. The problem is not that you're sitting in a sandbox and some bully is kicking sand in your face. The problem is you think there's a sandbox and there is no sandbox. Does anyone want to take a crack at what that's saying to you? Karen?
Yeah, we're just making it real, it's making it real. It's making it real. And for me, making it real is letting it have an effect on me. When I allow it to have an effect on me. So what he's saying, I think, is that there is no sandbox, there is no sand, we're making it all up. And it's how am I gonna react to this? Which teacher am I listening to here? And so that's where it comes in, where you said don't take it so seriously, not to take it so seriously, because it's not that serious, because it's all made up and the sandbox is all made up. Thanks.
Exactly. Rafi, go ahead.
Well, we're right back to cause and effect again. If you're sitting in the sandbox and you think somebody's kicking sand in your face, that's effect. But if you realize that it's your projection, then it's cause. And if you're cause, you're in charge. I mean, you're the boss. And once that happens, it can't have any effect on you. It can't run you, and you're in charge.
Exactly. Like Freud came up with the ego is always saying, fight. Should I fight back with muscles or should I run away? Dove used to be a coward and run away. Either one is the ego. Ego says, hey, this is real. You got to do something. And Ken is saying, wait a minute. First of all, Jesus is telling you there is no world. There is no sandbox. Why are you getting so upset over it? And when I made that quote earlier about Jesus doesn't want you to get serious about the course, he's always talking about students who make themselves wrong because they didn't do the course, they didn't do the lesson right, or they miss one of the things on the hour or the half hour. He says, no, that's the ego does that to you. Don't go there. Start to smile and laugh at yourself. Len, go ahead.
Yeah, first off, I'm uh, backing up to the first paragraph that you posted about our habitual responses is because I agree and I agree that the first thing that we say is, why is this happening to me? And even now, that's the first thing I always say, why is this happening to me? Because it is an indication of something that's going on in my mind. So it's not like I'm at effect of some cause from outside of me, but that whatever it is I'm perceiving is happening to me because of something in my own mind. I'm calling for it. I'm asking for it. I'm looking to, something outside of me to do something. And the question is, what is it that I'm looking for? What is it? Why is it that I am calling these things to me? And I see it that way. We call our experiences to us, and because we want to learn these things. If I didn't want to learn anything, I would have never come out here. But I came out here because I want to learn, and so that whenever I ask, why is this happening, that is really what I'm asking. What am I supposed to be learning here? And I have seen over the time that we all have been meeting together and having in-depth discussions about how we see things, what we think, how we feel, how we react, that I see a tremendous growth in the people in this group. I mean, I hear all these stories about this happened, and then I thought, whoop, here I am thinking this now. I mean, I hear it all the time, and I'm just so kind of overwhelmed with joy at this, how we are doing the work. And so, I wanted to acknowledge that. Um, but then the other one, um, and I see this other one that you posted too about the sandbox, that is really the essence of all of it is, what do I really think is happening here? And, if I recognize that what's happening here is I'm being shown, experiences that I'm being given a chance to evaluate, judge, decide to see it differently. I'm being given all these experiences for my own, for my own best interest. And so, whatever that may be, if we're working off the dream, or we are learning to see things differently. I see it as a helpful thing for everyone altogether. So anyway, enough of my babbling. I see Corinne has her hand up.
Corinne?
Thank you, Lynn. You're not babbling. I love everything that you say. Thank you. Um, yeah, I think for me, what I've been noticing with myself also the last few months and even more recently is basically is fear. It's fear that is getting lesser and lesser and lesser as I'm doing this work. It's like, it's almost like I'm climbing a ladder or something. Well, maybe not that example, but I'm getting up higher, up, off of the ground. of this unreality, because yeah, the fears that I used to have about certain things that were really, really like would give me a physical reaction, palpitations and all, all of that. Now I still see thoughts that I realize, oh, by my thoughts, I'm realizing I'm in fear because of what I'm thinking. And then when I catch the thoughts, I'm like, okay. And, it says in the like, perfect love drives out fear. What am I here for? I'm here to learn to love, to extend love. And I can't extend love if I don't receive it in myself. So it's just this constant thing between love and fear. And I'm seeing more and more also that it's impersonal, because it may not be my own fear, it may be just fear in the atmosphere, where I am in the room and that's what's going on. And I can see that also. And what are my thoughts about it? If I go into it, I think it was Rafi that says, is this what I want to see? I don't, that's not, if I'm start thinking something negative, oh, somebody's going to hurt somebody in here. Is that what I want to see? No, that's based on fear of past things. What I want to see is peace and love, and I can entertain that instead, which is, calling on the Holy Spirit, the right mind, whatever. But anyway, it's a lot of talk just to really say that the basis of all these things, I'm experiencing fear versus love. Yeah, thank you.
So on fear, there's two things you want to keep in mind. One is when Helen says to Jesus, Jesus, can you take away my fear? He said, I can't do that. He said, I know the fear is not real, but you do. He said, ask instead, what are the conditions that bring the fear about? And the condition is always my belief in separation. Separation is the idea that I'm alone and separate, and there's a reason to be afraid. Lesson 48 is the other thing to keep in mind. It says, there is nothing to fear, period. And then it says, this is a fact, period. And then it says, it's not a fact if you still are invested in illusions, which means I'm a body, you're a body. That's an illusion. So if you think you're a body, there's a lot to fear. Okay. All right. Why don't we go on, because we do have I see your hands up. With the 20 minutes left, maybe we can hold on to the questions. I'm more than glad to stay here another hour to answer all the questions, but why don't we just take a look at the quotes? That's the nice thing about John Mundy's place. They don't ask questions during the thing. Everything goes into the chat, and then Bud says, oh, it's a bunch of questions. They answer it at the end. Okay, when we hold the questions at this point, I think I put up some more, or did, oh no. All right. The third one is, I can forgive you only by realizing that I'm the one who puts you in my dream. So we talked about that earlier. I'm the dreamer of the dream. The fact that you said something that I don't like, the fact that you stole my money, I'm the hero of the dream. I put you there. That's what dream roles is all about. Chapter 29, section 4. No one can do anything to you unless you assign that role to them. It's a dream. The goal of this course is to wake up from the dream. It's not to get it right. It's to wake up. My God, I'm doing this to myself. That's the secret of salvation. So it says, I forgive you only by realizing that I'm the one who put you in my dream, and it's my dream. That's the key to forgiveness and to the important definition in A Course in Miracles, that you forgive your brother for what he has not done to you. And of course, the correlation to that is, are you willing to see your brother as sinless? The ego says, no. But if you choose the peace of God, yes, I am willing to see my brother as sinless. Why? It's my dream. Of course, I want to wake up from the dream. I don't want to have more bad dreams. Okay. We'll hold the questions. Let me put up 3 more. All right. The next one is, there is only one problem. The mind's belief that we are separated from God and on our own. On our own is the belief in separation. And that's where all fear comes from. And it's also the fear of punishment, because if I'm on my own, I have done something wrong, I've separated myself, and I'm guilty, and guilt demands punishment, and fear is I'm going to be punished. If God ever finds me, for sure, I'm going to get it. Ken goes on to say, looking at the problem as it is, quote unquote, means looking within at your faulty decision making so it can be corrected. So one of his most famous sayings is, I'm talking about Ken, don't look at anything in this world like the way you set it up. Yeah, we set it up for the other guy to be victimizing me, and I'm the victim. I set it up like that. No, look at it not the way you set it up, but look at it the way it actually is, as it is. I'm doing this to myself. The next one, the purpose is not to have a happier dream. The purpose is to wake up. We were just talking about that. The purpose is not to have a happier dream. So ego says, oh, I know how to have a happier dream. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do this instead. That's the ego. Seek and do not find. That's the ego's mantra. Now, the purpose of this course is to wake up from the dream. Another name for this course, and I love this. I just heard this recently. Another name for this course is ACIP, a course in purpose. Now, for those people who know the course, only purpose has meaning. Only purpose. What is my purpose here? My purpose is to wake up. My purpose is not to have a better life, make more money, be secure. The purpose is to wake up from I'm the dreamer of the dream. I'm dreaming. And purpose is meaning. Where do you find that? In my mantra lesson, lesson 25. First 3 words, first sentence in lesson 25. Purpose is meaning. I think the is in italics. Purpose is meaning. So the ego's purpose is to be better than others, to have more money, to have a bigger home, to have a better life, a better spouse, a better this. I want my kids to go to college. That's the ego's purpose. Purpose of A Course in Miracles is to wake up, period. Okay. We'll hold questions to the end. If you want to ask questions, you can just jot them down in the in the column here, and we'll answer them. And jot them down in the chat. I'm sorry. There's only one special relationship, and that's with my ego. This is Ken again. There's only one special relationship. So we think we have special relationships, like me and my children, me and Ken is a special relationship. Me and whoever, it doesn't matter. No, you only have one special relationship, and that's with your ego. There's only one holy relationship, and that's with Jesus or the Holy Spirit. Once I understand where my relationship is, everything I do after that is projecting either one or the other onto all the people in my life. And the best example of that is in the back of the manual for teachers in the clarification of terms, which is one of Lynn's favorites. Jesus was a man who saw the face of Christ on all that he met, and he remembered God. So obviously his relationship, he had a holy relationship with the Holy Spirit or with the Christ, and saw that in all that he met. If you have a special relationship with the ego, guess what? The ego is going to see this person as different, as something separate from you, and anything that's different or separate from you is going to raise fear in you. Anything that's different from you will make you either live in fear or be upset because they have something that you don't have, and you want it, and or they said something to you, but it's always something outside of you. It's nothing to do with who I am. And that's one of King Wapnick's most favorite quotes. What does that got to do with me? What does that got to do with me? I am the Holy Son of God. What does it have to do that someone is saying something stupid to me? Okay, it's not my relationship with you that has to be healed. People in my life, they're just a classroom in which I learn where the real healing of the relationship has to be, which was my mistaken decision for the ego. So the people in my life are helping me to learn the lessons I came here for. That's all they're here for. They're here to help me learn the lessons I came here for. That's the purpose of that we all have in each other's life. And here at Gather, we all say, oh, I love this group. It's the perfect group. That's right. We're all here to help each other learn the lessons. If someone says the wrong thing to you, guess what? It's perfect. Isn't that what the Holy Spirit said to Dove 10 years ago when he was in a hospital? I said, hey, what's this? I don't spend time in hospitals. I haven't been in a hospital since I had my tonsils out. And what did Holy Spirit say? You are perfectly cared for. You were always perfectly cared for. I was listening to a thing between Stephanie and Dakini Wild. Some of you know who Dakini Wild is. She's a prolific writer. She now has a place called Miracle Cafe. So they were talking about, I'm going to lose this. Oh, yeah, they were talking about trust. And you got to remember, in the Course in Miracles under trust, in the first paragraph, what does it say? It says, the teachers of God have trust in the world. Now, remember now, he's telling you there is no world. Have trust in the world because they have recognized that it's not governed by the laws that the world made up or the ego made up. It's governed by a power that is in us, but not of us. That's the power of God that's always moving within us. We never lost the mind of God or the power of God. It's always in us. So what's happening, including those people you don't like and the people that upset you and all, that's being governed by the power that is in us so we can learn the lessons that we came here for. As the Holy Spirit sees this world, it's a schoolroom, it's a classroom to learn lessons, and that's all it is. Are there any thoughts on that at all? Because that's a biggie. If no thoughts, let's just take another 2 or 3. These are much shorter. This is a cute one. Shows Ken Wapnick's sense of humor. But if you think about it, he's absolutely right. This is what he says. This is a course for the mentally ill. We are all paranoid and schizophrenic. Now, if you know what paranoid is, paranoid means you're afraid of something that's not real. So I'm paranoid, I think something's going to happen. It's not going to happen, but I think it's going to happen. I'm paranoid. Schizophrenic, if you're familiar with schizophrenic, a schizophrenic hears voices that aren't real. And that's exactly what the ego is. And we all listen to this voice, which is why I can't think of the maybe you can, Lynn, the word in lesson 52 say, aren't you sick and tired of your stupid, insane thoughts? Can you remember the word, Lynn?
Pitiful private thoughts.
Pitiful, yeah. Jesus is laughing. He says, aren't you sick and tired of your pitiful thoughts? He's calling what we call thoughts pitiful. Aren't you sick and tired of it? Thank you, Lynn. This is the course for the mentally ill. We're all paranoid and schizophrenic. Here's another Ken Wapnick. Sickness and oneness cannot coexist. I love it. He doesn't say much on that one other than if you remember that we are really truly one, that all are created equal, we are of one mind, not two, duality, where we live and we are created in oneness, one with my Father. I never left. That's the peace of God. Sickness is when you don't have the peace of God and you think that there's another mind out there. There's only one mind. It's the mind of God. We never left. That's called accepting the atonement for myself. And the last one here is a little willingness means willing to look at it or question every thought you have. So that's what Jesus said in the cross over and over, to question your values. We value things that have no value at all. If you value anything that begins in time and ends in time, you're valuing the valueless. Question every thought that you have. And I find that, of course, the ego doesn't want to question anything because it says, of course, this is true. I'm thinking it, right? That's the problem. I'm thinking it. We have a few more minutes left. I'll put up another 2 or 3, take another second. And okay, the next one is the only thing that's lost when you lose the ego is the need to be a victim. That's a really good one. The only thing that's lost when you lose the ego is the need to be a victim. You don't want to be a victim? Forget the ego. Only the ego wants to be a victim so that it can actually claim someone did it to me. They're to blame. They're guilty. I'm innocent. And if you understand projection makes perception, that doesn't make me innocent. That makes me guilty because I see guilt in somebody else. The moment you see guilt in someone else, where is the guilt? It's in my mind. Nothing ever leaves the mind. An idea cannot leave its source. So the only thing that's lost when you lose the ego is the need to be a victim. Ken Wapnick. The next one is we all suffer from mind cancer. And what is mind cancer? The cancer of guilt. And then this is a cute one. I love this one, and I know Brooklyn that you're going to love this one too. The ego is not evil; it's just silly. Ken Wapnick. And finally, what does this have to do with me? I'm the son of God. We're getting right up to the top. I'm willing to go further. If anyone has any questions, this is a good time. But we're doing this again on Sunday at John Monday, so please join us. For those people who don't know much about John, means I'll put up the thing right now. You just go to miraclesmagazine.org and register for it. Miraclesmagazine.org, and I'll put that up in the chat right now. Miraclesmagazine.org. And all right, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. I'll stay and answer anything that any questions at all, or I can put up some more. If you want to put up, there's probably like another 7, 8 more to go, and I can put them up now. The ones I just put up are short. The next one is one of my favorites. I think it's Karen Parenti's favorite too. If you're kind to all, you don't need the fancy schmancy metaphysics. So he's really saying you don't need the metaphysics of this course to complete the course. You just have to be kind to all. The emphasis is the word all. If you leave anybody out, you need the course. You need the course. Then I'll put that one up along with this one. The next one is true happiness in this world comes from letting go of guilt. True happiness comes from letting go of guilt. The problem that causes to flee our minds, which is our right mind, as we believe we fled from heaven, guilt's undoing then is the source of joy because it undoes all suffering and pain and returns us to the home we never left. And that's Ken Wapnick speaking at the commentary on lesson 66, which is called My Happiness and My Function Are One. That's his commentary on lesson 66. I'll put those two up here in the chat so you can take a look. If anyone wants to hang out for another 10, 15 minutes, I'll put the rest of them up. There's another 4 or 5. I can't put them all up at one time because of the way the chat works. The next one is called If You Deny the Body, You're Denying the Only Textbook that Jesus can use to teach us lessons. It's like saying to a teacher, here's a school for you. There's no classroom, there's no blackboard, there's no textbooks, there's no students. Now I want you to teach. So the classroom is our life. The students are the decision-making minds, and the curriculum is our life experiences, and that's from Ken Wapnick, and I'll put that one up. That's a goodie. Don't deny the body. That's an inappropriate use of denial. And the next one is you look at it. Oh, this is a really good one. It's a real cutie. Remember we were talking about looking at your wrong mind without judgment. That'll bring you to your right mind. This is the other part of it. You look at what's going on in your wrong mind as long as it takes for you to smile. That could be an instant. That could be a year. You look at it until you can smile. It's like the Wizard of Oz. He's behind the curtain. He said, there's nothing really happening here. You can click your shoes at any time and go home. You got to laugh. Says a real smile is not a stupid smile where you just smile because you think that's the thing to do. No, a smile that comes from your inside, your inner smile. Stupid smile, Jesus doesn't like. So that's Ken doing a little thing on Jesus. The smile is a correction for taking it seriously, which he tells you don't take anything here seriously. And taking it seriously means not only are you making it real, but it has had a real effect on me. So the gentle laughter the Course is talking about is what heals you. Rigo says, Dove, can you email me all 44 quotes? I'd be glad to do that, Rigo. Absolutely glad to email it to anybody. Why don't you mail me at acimgather7@gmail and just say 44, and I'll know what you mean. 44. I'll know exactly what you mean. Thinking of Renee, she loves 44 and 444. Okay, I only have two or three more. And then, in fact, I only have one more. This is the last one of the 22. The last one of the 22 goes like this. Drum roll, please. Here it is. Illusion, something that is believed to be real, but is not. The ultimate illusion is the separation from God, upon which rest all the other manifestations of the separated world, which may be understood as distortions in perceptions. So remember, these eyes don't see, they perceive. And if your interpreter who is perceiving for you is the ego, you can be sure that that's a mistaken perception. If the Holy Spirit is interpreting, that's a correct perception. And the way the Holy Spirit looks at everything in this world, he looks and smiles and says, what you think, brother, is not true. What you think, brother, is not true. That's how the Holy Spirit sees everything. What you think, quote unquote, is not true. And that's it. If any questions now, would be a good time to ask. Thank you, Dove, for your exuberance. Thank you, Glorian. Okay. And Rico. Oh, I wrote that to Rico. Yes, all right. All right. Let me put the last one up because it didn't go to everybody. Illusion, something that's believed to be real but is not. The ultimate illusion is the separation from God, upon which rests all the other manifestations of the separated world, which does not exist, which may be understood as a distortion in perception. That's from Ken Wapnick. And I think everything else that I did put went to everybody else. Are there any questions? Anything at all? No questions.
So you're going to be doing this on Sunday, and John is doing part of them also.
Thanks for sharing Ken's wisdom. Okay, that's Karen. And Elizabeth says, I agree. Okay, that's it. Thank you all for listening, joining.
Thank you.
Thanks
Yes.
everybody for being
Thank
here.
you.
brother.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good night.
Love us.
Good
Miss you
night,
also.
Karen.
And welcome back, Kiros. It's so good to have you back. Hopefully, I just sent you the schedule for most of these meetings, so hopefully you'll be able to be here with us again. And love you all, guys. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.